Welcome to Truth About. Today we're going to talk about the Creator. We're going to start with Genesis 1 1 and 2. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness covered the surface of the watery depths, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. So here's the facts. Either God, Yahweh, God the Father, is the creator of the world, and the Bible is real and true, or he's not the creator, and the Bible is all a lie. So all of Christianity and Judaism depend on these verses, right? This is the foundation of Christianity and Judaism. So clearly, this is one of the most important and foundational doctrines. There it is again in Christianity. So some points. Point number one: the universe requires a creator. So I got this out of the book Is God Real by Lee Strobel, and he interviews several scientists. Point one is the Kalam cosmological argument. This says whatever began to exist must have a cause. And we know from science in the 19th century that our universe has been proven to have, correction, the 20th century, our universe it began to exist and is aging. Therefore, it must have been caused at some point. And whatever caused this itself has to be uncaused, beginningless, timeless, spaceless, immaterial, and a personal being endowed with freedom and enormous power, right? And those things are the core concepts of God of the Bible. So the elements of the universe, such as the location of the planets, the moons, how they're arranged, how close or far the planets are from the sun being a third generation star, how the planets orbit and at what speed, all of those things require very fine tuning to create life. Somewhere in the book it was referenced there are roughly 360 different characteristics that have to be perfectly in tune in the universe in order for it to sustain life. The possibility of having another planet in our universe that could actually sustain life like Earth does, anything more than bacteria, is 1 in a million trillion 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 trillion. Anyway, it's 1 and 22. It's 1 in a million 22 trillions. So whatever that number is, but it's massive, right? So also, another thing is our universe is as small and as young as it can be to sustain life. So that's a little beyond my capacity to understand. But basically, if our universe was any smaller, which means had it been any younger, because it's expanding over time. So if it were any smaller or any younger, there we wouldn't be able to sustain life at all. Point number two: DNA requires a creator. So DNA is the information that tells the cells what proteins to create to build our bodies. So it's the information center, like a library, is how it's referenced, that um, all the information is pulled from to create us as who we are. So the complexity of DNA, it requires 1,200 to 2,000 letters or bases to build a protein, and they have to be very specifically arranged. The idea of these coming together by accident is absolutely irrational. So, and that's just required for one protein. Our DNA is like a software program, but more complex than anything that humans have ever designed. So, all of this happening on accident has a probability of 100,000 trillion 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 for one protein module. That's 100,000 with 10 trillions behind it, which is, again, a number I can't quite comprehend. But that's just for one protein. And you need 300 to 500 proteins just for a minimally complex cell. So that's point number two. DNA requires a creator. It's irrational to believe that that was done or that came about on accident. The next point is Easter proves that Jesus was God. We talked about the crucifixion and the resurrection in other videos. I'm not going to rehash all that here, but the point is Easter, Christ's crucifixion, and then resurrection from the dead proves that Jesus was God and that everything he said was true. Okay. So, point number 4, people have experiences with God, the Holy Spirit, miracles happen, and supernatural events happen. So, some people will discount these as all kinds of different things. There's a lot of documentation on the different experiences, the different miracles. One book is called Experiencing Miracles by J.P. Moreland. It's a whole book that he wrote that just documents different miracles that have been experienced or different supernatural encounters that people have had. So some people will discount point number 4, but point number 4 is a fact. So, and then number 5, a true evaluation of atheism, pantheism, and theism, which are the 3 different types of religions, lead to the truth that God, the God of Christianity, is really God, the Creator, and that all other potential gods or potential religions are false. So, the Bible, which has been supported throughout history, right? Through history, archaeology, science, through the accuracy of prophecy in the past, all of those things indicate that the God of the Bible is who he says he is, that Jesus is who he says he is, and um, it validates the Bible. So the Bible has never been disproven. Okay, so they'll tell you there's contradictions, and all those contradictions can be explained. Typically, it has to do with some language translation issues or whatever, but none of those have disproven the Bible. Archaeology has never disproven the Bible. They'll have things they think, you know, for instance, for a long time they believed that the earth was flat, but the Bible said that it was a sphere. So they later discovered the earth was not flat, and then the Bible was correct. So these things have occurred throughout history. And I want to finish with reading John 1 1 through 5. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning, and all things were created through him. And apart from him, not one thing was created that has been created. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. That light shines in the darkness, and yet the darkness did not overcome it. So this is talking about Jesus. Okay, so Jesus was there during creation. The Bible is true, and it has not been disproven. It cannot be disputed. So we can conclude that the God of the Bible, Yahweh, is the creator of the world. Thank you for listening.